Okay, guys, this is 1.7. Solve absolute value equations and inequalities. And away we go. Okay, so here's the idea. Let's say you had 5 in absolute value and negative 5 in absolute value. Anytime you have something in absolute value, you return an answer that's to the right of 0 on the number line, and those are positive answers. So 5 in absolute value is positive 5, and negative 5 in absolute value turns into a positive 5. All right, so if I made up a problem like this and I say, well, what would you put in place of x to spit out 7? Well, you would say 7. But there's another answer that would be true. If you put negative 7 in place of x, you'd still get positive 7. All right, and the last thing I want to talk about before we really get started, let's say you had the absolute value of x equals a negative number. Well, it's impossible to put a number in place of the x right now and be able to spit out a positive value. So this one would just be no solution. Okay. All right, so that's a little bit of background of absolute value before we actually start here. In the meantime, let's just put the first one in, and then I'll talk about this one. Absolute value has two answers. To get your two answers, here's what you do. You take the original, and you write it as you see it, except you drop the absolute value. The second one, you write the equation, except you switch the sign across from the absolute value. So we're going to turn it into a negative 7. The biggest thing students forget is to write two equations. Now remember, two answers is what you get. Solve this one for x, you add 5, x equals 12. Solve this one for x, add 5, x equals negative 2. Okay, so let's just talk about these answers a little bit. So this problem is in your notes, but I'd also like you to put this in your notes off to the side a little bit. The absolute value equation is the absolute value of x minus b equals k. This is your center number, and this is your distance from center. I'm going to run out of space here. I can try to put it over here. Distance from center. Okay, so that would go with this guy over here. Okay, so your center number in this problem was 5, not negative 5, because that, you know, this was already in the problem. So if your center is at 5, the number 7 represents the distance away from 5. You would go to the right and to the left. Well, if you go 7 to the left, you'd be at negative 2, which is one of our answers. If you go 7 to the right of it, you'd be at 12, which is this answer over here. Now, these are your answers. I'm just trying to explain what the absolute value formula is. Right, so negative 12 and negative 2 are the final answers for this one. A little bit tougher, but not too bad. The first equation you copy down, just like you see it. Nothing changes except you drop the absolute value. The second equation you write, you just switch the sign on the part that's across from absolute value. Solving this for x. And I got my two answers. X equals 11 and x equals negative 7. Extraneous solution is a solution that you throw out because it doesn't satisfy the original equation. So it's when you get an answer, but when you plug it back in, it doesn't make sense. And here's the problem that goes with that. Here's the first equation. You write it just like you see it. Here's the second equation. You switch the sign on that other part. Solving this for x. And I got my two answers with 6 and -2. So what they want you to do is they want you to put 6 back in the original equation and check to see if it's an extraneous solution, or an easier way of saying it, a solution that doesn't work out. If you put 6 back into the equation on the left side, which is this side, here's what you get. 6 times 2 is 12, and 12 plus 12 is 24. If you put the number 6 over here, 4 times 6 is 24. So this is a good answer. However, if you take -2 and put it in place of the x, you'd get -8 on the left. On the right, I'm sorry, on the right. If you take -2 and put it in place of x, you'd get -4 plus 12, which is 8. So 8 does not equal 8. Therefore, this answer you throw out because it's called an extraneous solution. All right, guys, this is day 2 now. So this is, and some of you, you've been kind of waiting for this here. So in your notes, go ahead and put this guy. But the nice thing about this problem is it's very similar to what we learned on day 1. So again, make sure you put day 2. Okay, so we have 4x plus 5. Everything looks, normal. We still have 2 equations. Is greater than 13. So that's not bad. You just copy it down, drop the absolute value. But here's what's brand new. So not only do you copy it down, you switch the inequality, you switch the direction of it, and you switch the number to the opposite of what it is. So it's not much different. You just have to remember, keep the first one the same, flip the inequality and the number on the second one. Other than that, though, it's not too bad. -5, -5. All right, got the first one done. Let's see here. So divide by 4, so that'd be 4.5 negative. X is less than -4.5. Okay, still graphing this now. We didn't graph the other ones because you just plot them on a number line. But this one, when you graph these, the smaller number goes on the left. The larger number goes on the right. They both get open circles because they're just less than or greater than. And then you just read them from one side to the other. You start from x, go toward the 2. X is greater than 2, which means you'd go that direction. I should have spaced this out a little better, but x is less than -4.5, so it looks like they're going to split out away from each other. And that's really what's brand new, guys. This is the main concept that you need to know for a quiz or test. So if you need to rewatch this, go ahead and do that. Other than that, here's more practice problems. I am going to speed through one of them just real quick here. Let's speed through number 7 real quick here. Here we go. Alrighty, and then it's x is greater than or equal to 2, so it looks like it's going that way. X is less than or equal to 10 goes that way. The rule, though, still applies, though. As you're solving for x, if you have to multiply or divide by a negative, you flip the inequality. So sometimes you have to flip the inequality twice. Okay. Baseball should weigh 5.125 pounds, so that's your center number. This is what we worked on earlier here. 5 minus your center is at 5.125. Okay? It's got to be between, so we'll go with that symbol there. 0.125. So if you'd set these two equations up, so you'd set the two up and you'd solve, you'll find out that you can be above that number by 0.125 and below that number. It varies either way. Okay, and then we're going to skip this one right here. Okay, so here's what your homework assignment will look like. Just be careful with the inequalities, when you flip them, when you don't flip them, and things should go pretty darn good. Have a great day, guys, and we'll talk to you later.